What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Leadership Ignition Team podcast. We've got a doozy dialed up for you today. It's going to come straight off the cuff, raw and fresh. We love this episode because it speaks to both of us from a deeper level. I am Shane Beckham.
And I'm Mike Hough, and today we're talking about FAT.
Yes, sir.
Shane and I are talking about...
Not the PH version.
Not the PH version. And look, no one wants to say the word fat because it sounds hurtful. Well, we're going to have to hurt your feelings a little bit if you're fat, because that's the only way we're going to make you feel better. So Shane, how do we want to kick this off?
Pretty just straight into the punch, man. Just gut punch, if you will, no pun intended. You think about the term fat, and I've been reading a magnificent book here lately, and it's called Why We Become Fat. Again, I'm terrible about remembering authors' names. I must do better for the purposes of letting people know. Maybe we can put that in the show notes, the book. But Mike, the reality of this topic is near and dear to both of us. One, because we had our own personal journeys. Yours was a bit different than mine, but both of us had a specific goal. We did not like the way that we looked. We did not like the way that our life was progressing. And we both chose to make the decision to improve ourselves. And through improvement of ourselves, our body composition has changed. So not only have we changed our outward appearance, but by default, we have made ourselves healthier by proxy. That's where it starts, is you become healthier, and then the outward appearance begins to start to happen. But there's a lot of little hidden jewels across the landscape of obesity that I've recently learned. It's, there's just little nuggets that I kind of want to uncover today and, talk through a little bit about personal experiences. And then also the viewing it from my lens now as I take a look at different places that I'm at, or hearing stories from the gym, or just coaching people in the gym. So, Mike, why don't we just kind of give the listeners just a kind of a recap of your own story and where you were and how you felt and what you specifically did to ignite that change.
Yeah, and what's funny is I'm glad I get to tell this story again, because my wife reminded me the other day. She's like, when you tell that story, you make it sound like you made this miraculous change on your own, and then we all followed you. And that's not exactly how it happened. I said, it isn't. I've told the story so many times, I'm almost positive that's how it happened. So now let me set the record straight on what my journey really was. And look, I was 46 at the time. I'm approaching 50 this year. We were in DC, but just before that, actually, that's the truth. That's where I begin my story. I got to back up. My wife, a couple of months before that, had just watched a documentary. It's about this juicing epidemic and these guys that were juicing. And you know what? I'm going to have to look that one up too. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a documentary. She's like, we should really watch this together. Because I think she was saying, I think you got to do something about what's going on with you. And I know she wanted to do something about herself too, but I think it was more about me. So, so we're watching this documentary. We decided, man, if these guys, and there's one guy on there who was one guy was traveling the world juicing and showing people the benefits of it. And one of these guys he came across was this trucker who was super overweight, close to 400 pounds. He started juicing. It was his only meal for most of the day. He lost a ton of weight. And just the light bulb clicked. And I had been listening to guys like Vinny Tortovich who talk about the no sugar, no grain diet for a long period of time. And I've been wanting, and I tried little bits and pieces of that. But nothing really ever clicked to me like, okay, this is just about feeding yourself with really good nutrients and losing weight, what I thought was the right way. But truly, it was a mass calorie deficit to do this juicing thing. That's what was causing it. And that's not what you have to do to lose weight, which we'll talk about. I was fat. I was about 275 pounds. And so we started that. And for me, it didn't really work all that well. For Michelle, it worked great. We went to DC, and her mom, like 10 days later, said, wow, you look great. You look like you've really done something. But for me, what happened was that it clicked, that I needed to fix the problem. And so that's when I called Steve Eckert initially, the Marine, and then Steve and I connected with Ray Cash, the Navy SEAL, started training with those guys, and then met with the Battle Ready group and really learned what I was doing wrong. And with Steve and Ray, I learned a little bit, but for them, it was all about the workouts and the strength training and if I do this, I'll gain muscle mass and that will help me chew the fat. And that's all true. but I also need to learn about my intake. And that's the piece that I just didn't understand, which was, and when I started, our friend Nate, he didn't put me on a massive cut. I mean, I felt like it probably was because I was probably eating 5,000 calories a day, and I need to eat like 3,000 to maintain that 270. But he put me on like a 2,600 calorie diet, but changed what I was consuming from high fat, high sugar. And I mean, I'm not talking about eating donuts every day, but carbs, pastas, breads, just eons of complex carbohydrates that turned into sugars that spiked my insulin, which I know you're going to talk to us about. Really high fat content, really low protein. And like most Americans, when he said, I bet you have no idea how much protein you're actually eating. I said, yeah, I do. I eat a lot of protein. I'm a dude. I eat red meat. Yeah, until I tracked it and realized protein was like 5% of my overall caloric intake. And I learned that is no good. And so for me, I paid attention and I learned and I jacked it way up on protein, pulled way down fats and carbs, ate the right kind of simple carbohydrates that made fuel for my body make sense, and then I got really in love with the gym. And I think those three things together got me down to, at one point in time, right before our photo shoot, about 183 pounds. So 275 to 183. That took about 16 months, which it's not going to happen overnight. But when you start to see it after month 3 and month 4 and month 5, it just energizes you to want to keep going. And then my mission was, okay, I don't want to be a scrawny old dude. So if I'm going to be getting up in age, we're going to lose muscle mass over time. I better figure out a way to put muscle on my frame. And so I started tweaking my diet again to add more muscle mass to eventually get to what Steve and Ray were talking about, which is let the muscle do the work. And as you add muscle mass to your frame, it does. It helps you navigate those barriers much. So anyway, that's the true way the story went. Michelle started it, not me, and I followed her into the healthy lifestyle.
I'm glad she led you to the trough, man.
That's right.
She couldn't make you drink the water, but she at least led you to the trough. And I love that analogy. Hey, why don't we watch this documentary
Yeah.
together about losing weight? Wink,
Yeah.
wink.
How?
But you know what? It changed the entire course of your life.
It sure did.
Isn't that funny? I know this is kind of an off subject, but one thing, one conversation, one documentary, life changed forever.
Life changer. And I've told this part before. I've always been successful as a businessman. I've always been successful financially. Not always. It's not true. I became successfully financially. I was not successful for a long time. And I had a great family, but I was still missing out on components at work that I didn't maximize because of my weight. Was definitely missing out on components at home that I didn't maximize because of my weight. And when I got my health under control, all those other elements went so much better. And I thought they couldn't get better. We're in the middle of a major process at the company, and we're meeting important people who've got a lot of money, and then we're trying to convince they need to invest in us. And it is no secret that my fitness profile and my discipline in those discussions and in those meals that we're having discussions with these guys is making them think twice as much about investing in this company. And I'm not bragging about me. I'm just saying that kind of discipline around people who matter is gonna make a big difference in your broader life.
It's that's an amazing point, and it's truth. Whether you want to believe it or not, when you find someone that walks the line of discipline, you believe more what they say.
You do. And,
You
and let's talk
just
about the flip side.
do.
And this is where we're going to hurt some feelings. When I was fat, that wasn't true. And for all of you, for all of us that are above 40, and you look undisciplined and you look unwell, I got to tell you, when you walk in the room, people judge you. I don't care whether or not it's fair. I don't care whether or not you like it. It's true. No matter how you present yourself in the room, you're being judged. And if for no other reason than to improve your finances, you should take advantage of this. But there's millions of reasons more than that.
Mike, you want to be the thermostat of the room, but you don't want to be the thermostat for the wrong reason, my friend.
Exactly right.
You want to be the person that can change the temperature versus, with your presence, with your personality, with all the things versus exactly what you say, because I'm with you. It doesn't matter what anybody damn says. There's judgment passed.
It's
Like, well,
just
who is this guy, to tell me to be disciplined in my life when he can't even be disciplined about himself? And it goes further than that. And, I talk a lot about this in my one-on-one meetings now. As humans, I believe we get a lot of things wrong. And here's some examples I'll give you. Clearly opinionated, but I think there's some merit to it, right? So the first question that I'm going to give you in a strategy session, it's a scale from 1 to 10. Where are you currently at in your health? How happy are you with your current health and fitness lifestyle, or where you are? Basically, how do you feel about how you look and how healthy you think you are? 1 being the worst, 1's being the worst you've ever been, 10's being the happiest you've ever been. Now, I'll say this, and this is the correlation that I want to make when it comes to obesity and just being fat. Now, that's the word we're going to use. You're just, it's if 10 is the best you've ever felt in your life. Here's another analogy, Mike. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Everybody has a story about when they were in the best shape of their life and what's one of the first things they tell you. I felt better than I ever did before. I don't know why I stopped. Okay, so that tells me that if a 10 is here, this is invaluable and priceless to be at, because when you are here, 1, the dominoes are going that way. Your self-confidence is up. You like the way you look. You're a better husband. You're a better wife. You're a better father. You're a better colleague. You're a better worker. You're a better friend. Invaluable. Your sleep is better. Your energy is better. Like I can't even put enough words. But as humans, we get this wrong, okay? Because this should be invaluable to us, because this is how we are healthy. Positive, healthy. We're here, okay? This is where we are. We have a why. Everybody has a why. And what happens is we start this journey because we think, I'm going to do it this time. Well, this is not easy. Okay, let me try that again. This is not easy. Well, what do we end up doing? We lower our standards to where we are because it's not easy. Therefore, we are just settling for where we are. Take a look around. Fit people are an anomaly. I said it and I'll say it 1,000 times. Fit people, disciplined people are an anomaly in today's world. The standard now is obesity in people that are completely out of shape. Go to Panama City, Florida, if you don't believe me. I was just there. I was an anomaly. It says nothing about me. This is not braggadocious. This is reality facts. I saw one other dude that was in shape like I was out of the tens of thousands of people that I saw.
Let me address that for a minute. So Shane, let me just ask you, and I know you had your own journey, and I think you should retell your story too in a minute, but I want to hear more about the beach. Let me just ask you, because this is my experience. Did you guys both recognize each other and just, kind of head nod and move on?
It's a bro love. It's like riding a Harley, bro. You give that little.
It happens in every setting I'm in. There's 1 or 2 other healthy humans, and we all recognize each other, and there's a little head nod, and everyone knows it, and you move on. But no, but it's rare.
It
It's
is
rare.
very rare. I was amazed. And here's the thing, Mike. It's almost like people get into this false sense of security that they think things can't happen to them.
That's right.
So they don't change anything. Although they're miserable inside, they're not answering above a 5 on that scale. They are miserable, but yet they're unwilling to make changes. Why? Society, comfort. To get to here, you've got to give up something. What is it going to be? Time, money, sleep, probably all 3.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give up something to get to where you want to be. And society has gotten so comfortable and lazy with just pushing buttons to get what they want. They're unwilling to do things anymore. But here's the point I want to make to this. And I may have said this on a couple of episodes already, but it just sounds, it's so realistic to me now. So if this should be what's invaluable to us, and there's not many people that can agree that it is. So at the flip side, once we lower that standard, what I ask everybody is, okay, now, and I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Do you put your doctor's appointments in your calendar? Or you write it down somewhere? 99% of humans do. Do you miss that appointment? Nope. Why? because you are worried about your health, but you're not effing worried about being healthy. The scalars are backwards, because when you're healthy, you don't have to worry about making doctor's appointments because you don't need to freaking go. It's like, what are we doing? And
Well,
why can't we understand that?
and I don't know that we don't understand it. I think what you said earlier really is the greatest impact of that, which is go to my doctor and he says I'm unhealthy and he's going to fix me because all I'm going to have to do is go to CVS or Walgreens and I'm going to get fixed. Right? That's simple. The action you have to take once you've had that doctor's appointment is simple. The action you have to take to prevent that doctor's appointment and that outcome is not, I shouldn't say it's not simple. It's simple. It's not easy. And that's what you said earlier. That's why people do this, right? They try it. Everyone tries. Everyone who's overweight has tried to not be overweight. Every single person who's there has tried to not be overweight. But it's not, well, one, they don't have the education that they need to truly do it the most effective way. That's the easiest to do it. And so they try really hard things like they'll go run for 3 days in a row and then their body's sore and broken and they don't ever want to do that again. I wonder what the hell they're doing, right? Or they'll starve themselves for 3 or 4 days and that's not working. They're dizzy and they're curious and they're starving. And but that's not the secret. That's not the way to get there. It's a lot easier. And you were inspired to have this conversation with me because of what you saw at the beach. I remember you sending me a text saying, dude, you would not believe what this place looks like. And you said something different than that, but and I was saying, you know what, where I am right now, it looks just as bad in the circle around me. And you know, we're a couple of times or last couple of weeks I've been out to dinner a lot, sometimes with friends, sometimes with other people. And I don't eat bread. And that's partially because I can't tolerate it, partially because it'll blow my carb counts out of the water. I've been on a no alcohol kick for a couple weeks now because I'm trying to make sure that I'm not overindulging there. But it's a crap ton of useless energy carbs that, not carbs, alcohol fragments that actually provide no macronutrient value.
Right.
And they get in the way of processing everything else first. So when you do that, you're not managing the rest of your body. I don't eat sweets. There's no such thing as a dessert for me. I just don't eat them. One, I've trained myself not to like them. And so that all feels like if you're going to start there and you're going to start doing those three things first, you will not succeed. I didn't start there. I started with how am I going to have 40% of my calories from protein? How am I going to have 30% from fat? And how am I going to have 30% from carbohydrates? And Shane, I think I learned it the same way you did, which is if I'm waiting till the day up to figure that out, I'm dead. And so that's what most people do is they try to do this diet stuff, but then life catches up. They go out for lunch with their friends or they go out to dinner or whatever. And it's like, oh, I'm off the wagon. I guess I'll start over Monday or next month or first of the year. And the truth is, if you know you're going to go out with your friends or you're going to go out to dinner, you just look at the menu in advance and you figure out what you're going to eat from that menu that fits your profile. And then you build your rest of your day up the day before, right? So you've talked about that before. Why don't you give us some more guidance on that? How do you make sure you can hit those targets?
Yeah, the easiest way, and again, the podcast is not being judgmental of people that are obese or fat, but it is a
I was
massive,
fat.
massive problem.
Yes.
And it's an epidemic. Like, an obesity leads to every disease known to man. You are living a shorter life by being obese, by being fat. You are going to die an earlier death. Now, there's a million other things that can happen to me and any other human, but just because of the way you're living, you are shortening your life. So what's one thing that someone can immediately do to make a change? And you nailed it earlier. Just start simple. Protein. That's it. Water and protein.
That's right.
Two things that can completely start the renovation process of your life. You have to understand those two things before, and this is, again, my opinion, those are the bottom floor of the foundation. That's how you build a solid foundation. Then you can start up with the rest of the building, the rest of your new temple, if you will. Because once you get a handle on that, multiple things are going to happen. Number one, water and protein will satisfy you deeper, which means that by just random proxy, you're going to stop eating a lot of the junk because you're more full.
We'll talk more about that. How does that happen? I mean, we found this out, and I'll back up what you just said. We're not here to embarrass anybody. It is embarrassing to hear it when you're out of shape. But we've gained so much power and energy in our lives because of the changes we made that we want to help other people. That's why we created this whole dang thing. Frankly, it's why we have this podcast. It's why we deal with the four F bombs. But it all started from that idea of gaining control of our health. But as we're talking about that, I do want you to go in deeper on how does protein work versus what most Americans are eating today.
Well, first, I'll say nobody other than the people that are in sync with what we do have any idea how much that they're actually consuming. You ask someone, well, how much protein are you? Well, I'm eating a ton of protein. Okay. How many grams a day? Well, I don't know. Okay. Well, tell me how many grams of protein are in 6 ounces of chicken? Do you know that? No, I don't have a clue. Well, do you know how big 6 ounces of chicken is? Nope. A lot of flaws in your statement, right? So first, it's understanding how much that you need for your body. Second, it's just the simple thing of understanding what protein does to our bodies. I like to put it in simple terms and say, okay, I want you to think about protein like an IV drip. I want you to think about and focus about getting a constant, steady supply of protein in your body throughout your entire day. And when you start to do that, your body will naturally change because you are keeping it fed, because protein is what we have to have for recovery, muscle regeneration, protein synthesis, all of the fire. It's just, not to get too deep into the science of what protein is, but thinking about it in a way to understand you need it when you first wake up to start the process all over again. You need it before you go to bed so you can have it happening while you sleep, all these changes that are happening to your body. And it's just for such recovery, muscle growth, preventative maintenance, the impacts of protein are unlimited on us. And people do not understand how much they actively need each day for this to occur. And not only how much they need to each day for it to occur, how much they need to actively have weight loss occur is by eating more. And it mind blows people. Now, you might have some different pointers on protein. I don't want to get too technical, but that's what I try to keep it say. We want this to be like an IV drip
Yeah,
of protein in your body throughout the entire day today.
and what's happening with most American diets today is the opposite of that. You get little bouts of protein, a little bit. Most people don't have much at breakfast unless they're eating bacon or eggs, which is, by the way, phenomenal breakfast. Even though your doctors 40 years ago would have told you never eat that stuff. They get a little bit at lunch by a couple of slices of lunch meat in between two gigantic pieces of bread, and they think they're getting a lot of protein, right? But if you do the dissection there, it's probably still in about 10% of protein. And then maybe they get a healthy portion at dinner time. But what are they wrapping that around with? Rice, potatoes, pasta. In particular, highly modified pastas like rice-a-roni and macaroni and cheese and spaghetti noodles and all that stuff that's really bad for you. In breakfast they're eating donuts or muffins or whatever, right? And bagels and all really good, tasty food. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome. But the problem is, when you add all that up over a day's time, track one day. Don't decide to make a change today. One of our call to actions is going to be ask you to track one day. Don't decide to make a change. Use MyFitnessPal. Uh, give me some other ones. I'm trying to remember the old ones I used to use.
Hell, Mike, you write it.
Write
If
it
you can
down.
write it down on a piece of
Well, it's harder
paper.
to write it down because you gotta look at the package. But anyway, do something to track it every single day. There's lots of apps out there that can do this for you. Because you will be surprised. I know you think you know. You don't know. If you're overweight, you don't know what you're doing right now. Write it down one day because you can't take action until you measure what you're doing, right? And
Specific measurements.
specific measurements. And I'll go further. So, what's the big deal about carbs versus protein? They're both 4 grams they're both 4 calories per gram of nutrient. Well, the big deal is one spikes the crap out of your insulin levels, which causes all kinds of problems. Builds fat retention inside your veins. Causes you to have higher levels of cortisol and stress. Causes you to be inflamed, and inflammation we all know is the great killer. Inflammation is what causes the entire body to go into to shock. And every time you eat, oh, and guess what? When do we eat those carbohydrates mostly? For our breakfast, right when we wake up, when our body's trying to re-engage, called a breakfast fast. You're breaking your fast, and before we go to bed, and we shove down popcorn and chips and all kinds of stuff,
Ice
pizza,
cream,
people
baby.
eat ice cream. Oh my God, before I go to bed. And I don't say that judgmentally. I say it as educated. I used to do the same thing, and I think about me when I say these things, what I used to do, and how much I was killing myself. And so that's what we're saying is you can still have some of that stuff. You have to think about when during the day you're having it, how much of it you're having, make it 30% of your total calorie intake. But really, you got to fill in the gap, and the gap is protein. Protein satiates you, makes you feel full. So when we put guys in this program and we crank them up to 40%, first they don't believe us that they're missing it, then they realize they are. They're not hungry at fewer calories than they used to have. So one of the reasons people give up on their diet needs is they get hungry, really, really hungry. If you ramp up your protein, you will not get really, really hungry. In fact, you'll probably feel more full than you ever have on way less calories. Thoughts on any of that, Shane?
No, I completely agree. And, I want to dive in a little bit deeper on one comment you had there. It's, you know, back to the carbohydrates. And truly, one of the things we're doing now at the gym is an 8-week metabolic reset. Why? Because it reduces carbohydrates. It eliminates them in the beginning, takes them away. You get them from natural protein sources or vegetables. That's where you're getting your carbs. That's it. And why do we do that? Because your body needs a metabolic reset. If you've not been in a pattern of understanding what you're putting in your body, you have to reset it. And this is where people will go and crash diet and do all the things. This is not a crash diet. This is an 8-week reset to where we deplete and then slowly start introducing the right carbohydrates back into your body, because that's the misconception. Here's what I've learned and what I know. I am not a doctor, but I know these things to be true. When you are fat, when you are obese, it doesn't matter if you go out and run 10 miles a day. If you're unwilling to make a few nutritional changes in your life, you can run 100 miles a day. It will not matter, because here's the reality of what most people were taught, and it's sinful that it's not being corrected even faster, that you have to be in a massive deficit to change your body and lose weight. Incorrect. You have to be able to fuel yourself with the right amount of caloric intake for what you're outputting to change your body, which typically means people undereat to lose weight. Now, there is a purpose for specific cuts and things like that, to where you enter into deficits briefly, very brief, as you reset or you're going into a specific cut. But here's what I know about carbohydrates. As we eat carbohydrates, and if you're getting anything from the um, inside the rows of the grocery stores, they're not good for you. None of that stuff is. Shop on the outsides of the grocery stores. Stay away from the middle aisles.
So let everyone think for just a minute what's on the outsides of the grocery stores. Just for a minute. Even if you're going to get grain bread, it's going to be in that good bakery section on the outside. But meats, cheeses, dairy products,
Yogurts.
like yogurts, cottage cheese. Cottage cheese, if you like cottage cheese, is one of the greatest things you can eat. Um, uh, or what else are we talking about? Fruits and vegetables, obviously. Salads, right? These are the things that when you combine them in the right macro counts, you'll lose weight, and you can eat as much as you want to eat till you're full. You're gonna still lose weight.
Absolutely. But, you're exactly right. Shop on the outside of the grocery store, because the body will not change as long as you're putting that type of food in, because to your point, it spikes your insulin. When insulin levels get high, what happens? It makes everything more sugar dense. Everything changes inside your body. And what happens is you store much more fat than get rid of it. So your body composition is changing for the worse. Every time you eat Pop-Tarts, donuts, all these things, you are getting that insulin spike, which is causing you to retain more fat in your body. The only way to eliminate that and to lose weight is to change the concept of how you ingest and what carbohydrates you are eating. If you are unwilling to do that, you will not change your body. Period. It won't happen, because, Mike, to your point, the 8-week reset, and it can be anything. This is just what we're doing. It's not anything, but anything specifically science guided to help. It reduces inflammation. It takes away the body's resistance to insulin because of you've developed such an odd number in your body with the spikes. It helps you sleep better. You have more energy and you naturally start to lose weight. Carbohydrates, once you understand your water and protein, recognizing what carbohydrates to eat that are healthy for you is where the game starts to change. And more people need to understand that because they just think they can eat what they want as long as they're exercising. And that's the farthest damn thing from the truth. You cannot do it that way. I had a conversation with someone yesterday and I got tickled because most of the time when people talk to me, they answer their own questions. They just don't realize it. Well, how much is the program? I get that. How much is it? Yeah, of course it is. And I don't mind sharing. But if you're asking me that question out of the gate, you're probably not coming to my gym. You're just not. You're not my client. Because if that's what's important to you, then you probably need to go to Planet Fitness. So here's the thing. Sorry, Planet Fitness. Here's the thing. It's, how much is it? Because I was a member of F45 and I absolutely loved it. Was in the best shape of my life. Never felt better, but I just couldn't get past how much I was paying for it. So I quit. I got a home gym. I got a Planet Fitness membership, but guess what? I just stopped going. Okay. So I have to make sure if I come see you for a trial that you're not as expensive as F45 was, even though you are the solution to my problem. I just can't justify paying a gym membership that's as much as a bill at my home. Do you know how much healthcare costs? If you don't, it just it's like you were at 10. You know how much good you had in your life and you're bickering over $40? That's one lunch now at Jersey Mike's for you and your family. And I'm dropping a lot of name brands here, man.
I think it's cool. I don't think you've said anything that's bad yet. So
Hopefully we won't be getting any calls to cease and desist. I don't think we have that kind of popularity problem.
Not yet. We're someday.
I'm just saying in generalities, like it's not the price of the program. It's your willingness to continue to put yourself in a position to succeed. And if you're unwilling to do that, it doesn't matter if it's $1 or 3,000, you're not going to convince yourself that it's worth it, even though it's 1,000,000% worth it. It's exactly what you need.
Shane, while you're talking, I wrote down a list of things that improved. Some are physical symptoms that I was feeling. Some are numbers that changed for me. I'm not going to give all the specifics, but I'm going to run down the list of the things that improved for me when I went from 275 to 183. One, indigestion. I constantly had indigestion, bothered me all the time. Reflux. And I'm not talking about acid reflux. I had constant regurgitation of food going on. I think mostly sensitivity due to gluten and all the carbs that I was eating. 3, dizziness. Because of all that stuff going on in here, I felt like something was going on. I get dizzy. I actually had heart palpitations. That's number 4. I would call the ambulance on a semi-regular basis because I had blood clots in my lungs a few years ago, and I kept feeling like that over and over again. Ambulance would get there, take me to the hospital. I was fine. I wasn't fine. I had these symptoms, but I was fine from a true emergency perspective. Chest pain went along with the rest. Sleep. I slept like crap. I would have to take a nap every Saturday and Sunday because I was so exhausted because I could not sleep at night. Energy levels because of my exhaustion. Now here's the real numbers. My heart rate, my resting heart rate went from 78 beats a minute, which is scary, to 54 beats a minute. 54 beats a minute last night. Just checked to my wear a ring. Heart rate variability. Most people probably even know what that is. It's the number of beats, the number of times your heart rate changes overnight. And believe it or not, the more often it changes, the healthier you are. I had a heart rate variability in the mid-teens. Terrible, scary. My heart rate variability now is in the 60s. High blood pressure, way high. Now down well below normals. High cholesterol, taking cholesterol meds. I'm not taking cholesterol meds anymore. Cholesterol's totally fine. There's a number of other things too that I won't go into, but point is you're not willing to pay $50 a month to fix all this, but you're willing to pay thousands a month in medication and doctor bills to fix all this. And guess what? It doesn't fix it. Masks it. It's wild to me. And again, I used to do it because that's what I needed to do to manage myself. It was easier to go to the doctor and take that next pill. But once your eyes open and once that switch clicks, it's like, man, what was I doing? And what are all those people doing? And I'm not, and again, it's not being judgmental, but I fly every stinking week, and I started to do the same subconsciously, and I started realizing I was doing this. So now I do it consciously. What percent of the plane is overweight? What do you guys think? Shane, what do you think? Before
80.
I say it's at least 80, if not 90, unless they're under 25. And then that's just by luck, right? So it's going to change then too.
Hadn't caught up to him yet,
I hadn't
man.
caught up to them yet. And I just look around and go, I want them all to be happy and healthy. I want everyone on here who I don't know to be happy and healthy, but they don't even have the knowledge to know how to do that.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I do think that there's been a long-term disinformation campaign. You go all the way back to the food pyramid, the plate design that was created in the 70s for the purposes of being able to give people out of the food pantry food that costs less. That was a government construct to make sure that they could feed the hungry in the least expensive way possible. That's why they created that thing. And you can find the truth on it. In fact, there's a documentary called Phat, a documentary that goes into this in great detail by a guy named Vinny Tortovich. And there's Phat 2.0. If you're at all curious about anything Shane and I are talking about, watch that documentary. You're going to find out how we've been lied to and held to a standard that could do nothing but make us worse. It could only make us sicker. And it's just crazy. But why do I think that is? Because our folks, medical doctors, ER doctors, surgeons, try to think about what other, those two categories are good enough. We've had in our program, Shane, you and I, we trained them, and they had no idea what a macronutrient was. They had no idea what high rep, low weight, and low rep high weight strength would do for them. No idea. Didn't know that running 50 miles a week wasn't the answer to being healthy. Didn't know that. And so if they didn't know, experts, and you and I didn't know, lay people, no one knows. And so the research is out there now. One good news about the current environment we're in is there's lots of folks talking about this. Now, I'm learning more every day by the people that I listen to in podcasts, the books that I read, and that gives me hope that we're going to get to more people and make them healthy.
You know, one of the things that we both talk about is two things. One, we both had to hire someone to teach us how to do this. At least show us the way. We did a lot of it on our own because we were one of the few that actually embraced how to make the change. A lot of people are given the information, given the tools, and they still don't utilize it. There's always an excuse to be made. There's always 10 things that pop up. Life happens, and then you just fall off the wagon. But, you know, the reality is we had to hire someone to teach us how to do this, and we learned, and we've applied, and we continue to learn. We continue to listen and seek out professionals or others that can give us more. And, you know, that's one thing. Two is it did not happen overnight. And, you know, that's what, you know, I tell people all the time. Mine was somewhere around September to nearly May is the shift that I made. But then when I tried to go back in a different direction and change my body another way, it took me another 9 months. Like, these are not quick hitting things. This is a reset of your body. And oftentimes your body has to do its own filtration process, and who knows how long that's going to take. And people get to where they have the valley of despair, that chart to where what you think should happen and what actually happens. And then you have that little area of valley of despair right when it crosses the line of what you think should happen. That's where everybody quits because it's not easy and it's taking too long. Like,
Well,
I've had
someone very
people
close
enter
to
into
me,
nutrition programs and literally quit 4 weeks in because, well, this is not, I'm like,
4 weeks, man. Well,
okay.
someone very close to me has a stair step goal, trying to get where they want to go, and they're making it. They're doing it. I mean, they're crushing it. They're making it all the way to where they want to go. But they're in the valley of despair every time they make a stair step change, and every time they say, "Look, it's not working." I'm like, you know, it's the math. You know it works. Stick with it. You know you've done it 10 times already. Stick with it. It works. But it's very psychologically true that when I want to make the next stair step change or the first stair step change, I got to change stuff. And changing stuff is harder because it's not what I wrote down before. It doesn't allow me to seek comfort. It causes me to have to take action. And if I don't see immediate results, like everything else, if I can't just push the button on Amazon, have it show up at my front door tomorrow morning, I'm not happy. And that ain't this, man. If you've allowed yourself 30 or 40 or 20 years to get sick, it's not going to be 3 days to get better. You got to allow your body to adjust.
So, what's something that someone can do regarding, the Leadership Ignition team? How can someone find help from us?
Yeah, if you like what we're talking about, if you like our personalities, you think we could help you. I mean, Shane and I actually coach you one-on-one if you're interested in that, right? You're going to get us. We're going to talk to you every 2 weeks like this over Zoom or whatever else. We're going to program your workouts. We're going to program your macros. But we're not going to just tell you. We're going to have a dialogue with you and see what you have access to, what you're interested in, what your time scale looks like. We're going to have a long dialogue and figure it out together. And then based on what we figure out together, we'll tell you how long it's going to take. It If your goal is X and you have this much time, well, it's going to take Y. But if you can add more time, it's going to take Z. And so we work on you with you to do that. To do that with us, just go to our website. We've got a section on our website to gain personal training advice from us. But there's lots of folks out there, and we're not saying come to us. We'd love to see you, but find somebody. Find somebody who can help guide you to the stuff you don't yet know. We gave you a bunch of nuggets today, but I've heard some of those nuggets before too. Until someone lays it all out for you and helps you walk through it. And frankly, we all need accountability. Part of the reason Shane and I do this is accountability for us. We can't just stop and start training other people. That's not going to work. So part of the reason we do this is to be accountable to each other and to be accountable to the folks that we've got a responsibility to train. So that's one way. And Shane, I would ask, I'll give one call to action. I think you probably have a couple you could give too. I love Shane's 1 to 10 scale. So if you do nothing else from this podcast, ask yourself, 1's the worst you ever felt, 10's the best you ever felt. Where are you right now? And forget the best you've ever felt, the best you know you could feel if you took care of everything else. Where are you right now? And if you're honest with yourself about that, I mean, I'm probably an 8. I'm probably an 8. I could be a 10. I'm probably an 8. And so I know that. And so I've made some changes recently that I've shared with my accountability partner, Shane, to make sure I get back to 10. And so where are you? And if your number is not a number you like, take the next few steps. What's the next step, Shane?
Even go further than that, Mike. And if your answer has been the same for the past 12 to 24 months,
Yeah.
what you are doing is not working. You have to pretend you have to quit pretending at that point, because that's one of the questions I asked later. Well, how long have you been actively trying to make a change for your health and fitness? I want to see 3 months or less circled. That means we're actively in it. But if I get over here and they've got 12 to 24 months circled, I'm like, well, clearly what you have done over the past 1 to 2 years is not changed where you want to be. We need to find a solution to your problem. And it's not just me. Here's what I leave them with. On that first page, it's the 1 to 10 scale. That's where you are. The next question is you're basically asking you why are you here with me today? So your why.
Right.
And the last question is, if everything happens in a dream outcome in 12 months, what has to happen? What happens? That's where you want to be. Where you are, your why, and where you want to be. And all three of those answers correlate. And what I tell them is, no matter what you decide to do with me today, these are still your answers.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
if you can't find a solution with me, go find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you need to change this 5 to a 10.
I wrote down as my last call to action before we talk about actually changing is this assessment, that assessment that you just did. And my last was the David Goggins version of what would it be like in 12 months if you got this down, which is the exact opposite, which is what is being fat holding you back from today? How's it impacting you financially? How's it impacting your health? How's it impacting your relationship with your kids? How's it impacting your self-worth? Now, he talks about an accountability mirror where he would write to himself on stickers and put them on the mirror and say, I'm a fat son of a bitch, or I'm a slob, or, I'll never measure up to the guy I should be. Not everyone can be that extreme. He's a little autistic in that regard, I think. Maybe I shouldn't use that word, but something about that.
Now we're
But
gonna have Goggins after us. Come on, man.
I think you'd appreciate it. But I think that's the thing, right? Be honest with yourself one time. You can look in the mirror and say, "I'm good enough," and I think you probably do. I did. Um, my wife still loves me. She hasn't left me yet. Um, or you can be honest with yourself about, here's where I really am. Here's what I'm missing out on because of here's where I really am. And if I make this change, here's what I'll gain back in the next 12 months.
To that point, Mike, if you continue to wait until the perfect time exists to start, you never start.
No such thing.
There is no perfect time to start. And to your point too, and I want to take this a step further. And we don't do a lot of this. I'm just maybe taking this episode to give a little shameless plug here or there. You know, you talked a little bit about the fuel and focus section of our website, but we also have another website to where, you know, we are actively coaching other teams, businesses, specific lanes that, you know, we stay in. Whatever your business is, if you feel like there's a benefit for us to come in to present some of these ideas and get your team healthier by presentation of just a high level understanding of nutrition, love to do that, because there's always opportunity to share those type of things. And to your point, this is the reality of the situation. It took you one documentary. It took me one LinkedIn post.
Yep.
That's it.
That's it.
It changed our lives forever. Like the amount of
Never.
trajectory it changed my life is even more bizarre because now I own a business because of it and quit what I was doing for a living. Like it radically has changed my entire life. One person can listen to this, or we can be introduced to someone as we come and coach you and your team, can dramatically change their life forever. And I'll go as far to say a healthier workplace is a more productive workplace.
If you're a leader, if you have a workplace, I do this in my workplace. You would not believe the changes here because of what I made for me, and they weren't forced. It was really most of my team seeing what was happening with me. Some of my team coming to get coached by Shane and I to learn how to do it for themselves, and that cascading to what they wanted to do differently in the snack room, in the beverage fridge, how we talk about health and fitness while we're in meetings. It's amazing what can happen inside your organization and the productivity that can be gained if you can create a healthy alignment between your folks and your business unit.
It gives you a little bit more of clarity when you're not worried about your outward appearance.
That's right.
When you can remove that distraction from your life, the amount of clarity that you can gain, because now you have self-confidence. And when you have self-confidence, everything changes. Your presentations are better, more crisp, because you know that you've looked good, you feel comfortable, and now you can focus on deliverability instead of presentation of yourself. It shifts your entire mindset. You just remove that worry from your mind, and then it's just, you don't think about it anymore, but then you're judged on a different scale now. I'm going to listen to what this guy's got to say, because clearly he is taking care of himself. So
I'll just close with one last thought and then we can close this up. I've been to three industry conferences in the last 3 weeks. One of which we had Tom Brady show up. That wasn't the cool part. Cool part was it was cool, but the cool part was seeing my colleagues that I've seen for 20 plus years in this industry, almost 30 years now in this industry, and having them come up to me and say, "What is going on with you? I need to do more of what you're doing. I've let myself get down this path. I need," and it's not one conversation. I mean, hundreds of conversations like this at coffee breaks, at the reception at the night, in between speakers, whatever. I don't ask for it. I don't show up wearing a tank top. It just is naturally. It's obvious, right? But what would it feel like for you if those folks were coming up to you and having those conversations? I can't imagine 4 years ago me having those conversations. I would have been the guy going up to the guy who looked like that if I had the guts to say something. How awesome would it be for you to have that be you that they come up to?
yeah, it's powerful stuff, man.
Powerful. Well, let's close it up, Shane.
I like this episode. It was cool just to riff a little bit about what our thoughts are and how we can help and how you can help yourself. I mean, there's a lot of guidance out there. If you're not going to choose to take any from us, please seek some sort of direction and put the brake pedal on the current lifestyle that you may be leading and find a healthier way to live. Your kids will thank you for it, because one of the main excuses I hear all the time is, well, I don't have time because of my children. Well, guess what? If you don't make a lifestyle change, your children are going to be taking care of you a hell of a lot earlier than they should be. And that's not what any child wants to have to do. So recognizing the problem, taking action on the problem, course correcting the problem, but you need to make sure you understand what you're doing, because to your point, Mike, the roller coaster on this lifestyle is real. People ride it up and down all the time because they never truly understand how to do it the right way. It's a process that you think is easy. It is not. It has to be taught, and you have to understand it, because if you don't, you're, as they say in the South, my friend, you are pissing in the wind. And with
Or
that,
up a rope.
do what?
Or up a rope. One of the two.
Up a rope, absolutely. Both things you don't want.
Be back.
All right, Mike, let's go ahead and put a big old fat bow on this one. I know we've covered this earlier, but where can people find us?
Get to our website, www.leadershipignitionteam.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not on TikTok, but that rock star Shane Beckham is. Find us there. You find our links. You find the ways to interact with us. Even if you just got a question, we've got a comment and answer section there. Hell, we've got a live chat bot that's actually not a bot. It's a live chat with Shane and I. If you start talking there, we'll be the ones answering you. So check us out.
Awesome. Well, Mike, it's been a fantastic episode addressing the epidemic in our country and probably the world at this point. You know, the epidemic of obesity. If you can use any help from us, reach out. And as always, Mr. Mike, until next time, let's get lit, baby.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Leadership Ignition Team podcast. Go to our website at www.leadershipignitionteam.com to subscribe to our weekly newsletter, engage with us, and find your favorite podcast networks, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.